Hi everyone, and welcome to my next project, which is a Dragons 1/35 scale M48A3, which I'm going to be doing in a Vietnam style. It's going to be kitted out with some serious stowage as I want to practice all of my painting on stowage. So, if that's something that's of interest to you, then feel free to pull up a chair and let's go do some modelling. So here's the kit. There are extensive reviews on YouTube, so I'll just give you a little brief overview. Some nice artwork on the front. This is an update to one of the older kits where you actually get the couple of figures included in the kit. As always, the detailing is superb. And as always with Dragon, there's some issues with the instructions, which we'll look at later on. But we'll just give you a 360 look at the actual box artwork itself. And what we'll do now is have a brief look inside as well. Comes with all of the usual Dragon grey sprues. As for the instructions, not too bad, a little bit complicated here and there. There is one big chunk that's missing, which we'll go talk about later. And you have some decal options as well as details on the figures. So this is the lower hull with all of the wheels. Having a quick look through, detailing is nice, but I could spot already we don't have the oval holes on the sprocket, so we'll need to get that checked out. The lower hull beautifully textured, nicely detailed. Looking forward to putting that together. The rear cage a little bit brittle, may need some cleaning up. These are the figures. I won't be doing the figures, but I may utilize some of the equipment pieces. But again, nicely molded. We also have the top turret, which is thankfully all one part. Again, got some texturing on there. There's some really nice numbering on some of these as well, which is nice on some of the parts. This is the fenders, again, really nicely detailed. There are some issues with the back top deck, some weld seams, etc. missing, but we'll look at that in more detail. Again, the fenders. Now, these are the tracks, not for me, I'm afraid, but these are the rubber type tracks, so they'll be switched out with the AFV Club ones. This is all rubber as well. Again, not a fan of rubber on my models, so we'll exchange that for a resin one. Some clear parts as well on the cupola and the front visors. Lots of decal options. Nice little bit of Snoopy there. That seemed quite a popular thing on some of the Vietnam vehicles. So, as I say, I've swapped out the tracks using the M48 ones from AFV Club. These are stunning. Go together, an absolute dream. Very impressed. Need a lot of cleaning up though, but yeah, very pleased with those. This is the barrel. Forewarn you, this barrel is either too short or the kit one is too long. I'm not quite sure, but this is a 2 or 3 millimeters short than the actual kit version itself. Then I've got a shed load of resin stowage because, as I said at the beginning, I want to practice my painting and weathering of stowage. So a lot of this will be going on. Again, we'll go into a few more details on this nearer the time. But nice and crisp. Probably need a bit of cleaning up here and there. But yeah, nice little set there with the resin parts. As I said, I was going to swap out the front searchlight. I'll use the Legend one. It's okay, nicely detailed. However, if I had my time over again, I would go with the DEF one. But again, no serious issues with it. And again, we will have a look at this in a lot more detail on one of the other videos. Also had the standard M48 book for some detail. As far as the reference photos go, you can get them all on the internet. So really the advantage of this was just to have a look at other people's builds, what they've done, any alterations they've done and changes they've made. So all in all, it's an okay book. So first of all, we're going to concentrate on the lower hull. There's 150 pieces on the lower hull, including all the wheels. So a lot of work to do. So just go slow and work through it. You'll be okay. So we're using the snips, and we're going to cut off the wheels. They come in sections where you're actually going to be adding on the tires. And here we have the smaller wheels. Be careful because some of these you're not using. So again, keep an eye on the instructions. So once we've done that, we're just going to clean them off, snip off as low down as we can, pulling away as you snip. And then it's a matter of sanding back to get those clean. You don't have to be too fussy here because, like I say, you will be adding on the tires. But here I'm using the 400 grip Infinity sanders. If you don't have those sanders, try and get them into your tools because they are a good sander to use. And then it's very straightforward. Click in, and then we'll get some of the Tamiya liquid glue, and that can all go around, and very straightforward. It's just there's a lot of them to do. And here are the tires that I mentioned, and they'll fit on nicely like that. Again, I'm gluing all these together before I clean them up, for reasons we'll have a chat about in a second. But as you can see, these are all now glued together. I've left them for 24 hours. And what we're going to do now is to sand these thin and get some damage on there. So using the old Dremel with the sander on top, because I'm lazy. Now be very gentle, because the last thing you want to do is to disfigure, is that the word? The actual roundness of the tires. So go gently with the electric, and then maybe clean it up with the sander afterwards. Still keep the edge on that rim. And what we can do now, as you can see from this reference photos, try and do some damage. Now, a lot of the reference photos I looked at, there wasn't a lot of damage per se on all of the wheels. But I thought just for practice and just to add a bit of interest, I will do it on one. So we're using a very sharp knife, and judging by the plaster on my finger, you've got to be careful so you don't slice your fingers off. And we're just creating a few little V shapes, some little nooks, and then we're just digging out, gouging out some of the tire. And then once that's done, we'll go back to our 400 grit, and we'll just give that a nice sand down, getting off all of the rough edges. And there we have it. I look forward to seeing that painted up, and that should look quite nice. And there's the comparison with the actual real wheel itself, which hasn't been damaged. Now, obviously, a lot of sanding's been done, so it's a matter of making sure these are clean before we paint them. So just using a little pot of water, get that all cleaned out, and there you can see we've got a lot of decent tire wear there. Now, as I said to you before on the sprockets, that they're lacking a little bit of detail. So we've got the holes on the inside, holes on the outside, so they need to be added as well as the weld seam. So it's just a matter of drilling out the 3 oval holes all together. So I marked them with pen, positioned them first. Then I've got a small drill bit to start it off. And then I've got the larger one to make the larger hole. And then scrape it out with the craft knife to get the worst of it out. As you can see here, I'm just finishing off now, making sure that all the excess plastic has been taken away. And then I'm using my velour file. Now, if you do not have one of these in your kit, I strongly suggest you get a round one and a square one, because these files go through plastic like knife through butter. They are superb. So get yourself one of those in your toolkit, and we clean those up. And once that was done, I just added on those 3 little holes at the front, again marked out with pen, And then we just start off with the small little hand drill, and then we just open it up a little bit with a large one later. But be very gentle with these drill bits because they do snap quite easily. So that's the third one done. That's all three of the holes done. So all that leaves us to do now is to get the weld seam done on the inside. And that I did using a bit of 0.3mm styrene rod. And that was just glued on down the side. And there we have it. Nice little project there to improve the detailing and improve the accuracy. And once that was done, I could then turn my attention to the holes. As I said, they do have some texturing on it, but it's a bit uniform. So I wanted to make it a little bit more realistic. There's some nice numbers on the hull as well, so I want to make sure that those don't get damaged. Keeping the bottom smooth, but it's really about adding on a bit of damage, a few bumps and bruises, and then going over and adding on my own texture. But there's the two halves together. So that's what needs to be glued. Now, I have this old Tamiya cement, the old white cap. I've had this for about 10 years. Now, this is like super glue. It is superb. It absolutely dries rigid. So that was left overnight. However, when I finished, it looked like it's either slipped or I didn't do a very good job, and I've got a bit of an overhang. It's not the fault of the kit, it's the fault of myself. However, it's not a major issue because I am going to be adding on texture to the hull anyway. So all I did was just get a sharp knife and I'll just scrape that back. And once done, as you can see, nice and smooth now, no issues. So I'm just checking where I'm going to be putting the texture in, where I'm going to be putting the damage. I'm going to be using the old Dremel again. And we're just going to go around touching the surface, don't want to go too deep. And just create a bit of damage here and there just to improve that and make it more of a realistic textured finish. And I've gone all the way around, and once that was done, it was a matter of getting the sanding stick out and taking off all of that excess, as you can see, has been created from using the Dremel. And then once that's done, it's a matter of going in with the old Surface 500. You see me do this 100 times now, and we're just stippling away. And what we need to do is to create a lot of humps and pits, so that it gives you a nice lumpy surface. And just keep going over, and you can do 1, 2, 3 layers, however many you want to create the look that you're after. And then once that's done, let that dry fully. And then once that has dried fully, get yourself a sanding stick and take off all of those ridges that you created. And then that will give you a nice, smooth, textured area, which will look absolutely superb once painted. Now, we did have some issues, obviously, with a little bit of overspill on some of the connecting areas of the other parts. So it's just a matter of getting some IPA down, cleaning up the area, using an old brush. You could possibly sand it as well if you wanted to, but it's not long before that's all nice and cleaned up, and it's all ready now for other parts to be added. So really pleased with how that all turned out. So there we go, guys. Off to a flying start. I really appreciate you popping by and supporting my latest project. Massive thank you to all of my subscribers, old and new. And in the meantime, happy modelling, everyone.